Hi everyone, my name is Karen Argamosa and today I'll be talking about eating and feeding disorder, a topic that's both clinically important and deeply human. As future nurses will often encounter patients struggling not just with food but with control, body image, and identity. So today I'll walk you through what's going on biologically, psychologically, and socially, and how we, as nurses, can provide compassionate and evidence-based care. Understanding eating and feeding disorders. Eating and feeding disorders are mental health conditions where people experience serious disturbances in their eating behaviors and thoughts around food, weight, and body image. These aren't lifestyle choices. They're complex disorders that impair physical health, emotional well-being, and social functioning. The core feature is a persistent pattern of restriction, binging, or purging that disrupt everyday life. What's important to remember is that behind the visible symptoms like weight loss or avoidance of meals, there's a web of neurobiological, psychological, and social factors that keeps the disorder going. Now, let's look at what happens inside the brain. Several brain regions are involved in regulating eating behaviors. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and self-control. When its activity changes, people may lose control over impulses like eating or purging. The insula, it helps us interpret hunger and fullness. When dysregulated, the person may misread those cues, feeling full after very little food or not feeling hungry at all. The orbitofrontal cortex. This area helps determine reward and value. In eating disorder, it can exaggerate the reward of food avoidance or perfectionism. The amygdala and hypothalamus both play roles in fear, stress, and appetite regulate. And the ventral striatum, which includes the nucleus accumbens, is linked to reward and motivation, explaining why some patients feel anxiety instead of pleasure when eating. Neurotransmitters also play a role, especially serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Serotonin affects mood and appetite. Dopamine is tied to reward processing, and norepinephrine influences arousal and energy. That's why psychotropic medication like SSRIs, including fluoxetine, Prozac, can sometimes help rebalance this system in anorexia or bulimia. There are two main categories we often discuss: eating disorder and feeding disorder. Under eating disorder, we see anorexia nervosa, marked by extreme food restriction and fear of gaining weight. Bulimia nervosa involves binge eating followed by purging behavior. Binge eating disorder are recurrent episodes of overeating without compensatory behavior. Feeding disorder, on the other hand, are more common in children and include things like pica and avoidant restrictive food intake. Each condition carries its own challenges, but all can lead to serious physical and psychological complications if untreated. The main contributing factors on anorexia nervosa is biological, psychological, and sociocultural, family, and cultural development. Usually, a typical patient profile as an example. Imagine an adult, often female, though not always, who feel intense pressure to achieve unrealistic body ideal. She might come from high-achieving family where control and success are emphasized. Social media often amplifies these pressures. Biologically, genetics and neurotransmitter imbalances contribute psychologically. Traits like perfectionism and anxiety increases risk, and social lack of support or exposure to body shaming can worsen the condition. My patient minimizes this and denied the seriousness of their low weight and hallmark of anorexia, making therapeutic communication essential. Our nursing role starts with building trust. This patient often misunderstood or judged. Using therapeutic communication, we aim to create a safe environment. Instead of confronting their eating behavior directly, we use gentle, not threatening language like, "Sarah, can I see that talking about food and weight feels difficult for you? Can you tell me what worries you most when you think about eating more?" Or, "It sounds like you've been working really hard to follow your meal plan and attend therapy sessions." That shows a lot of strength and commitment. Our priority nursing diagnosis is imbalanced nutrition, less than body requirements, and disturbed body image. Treatment goals center on restoring nutrition, achieving healthy weight, reducing anxiety, and helping the patient develop a more realistic self-image. Our intervention include collaborate with the dietitian to implement structured gradual refeeding plan and providing positive reinforcement for adherence. And another one is use cognitive behavioral techniques to help patients challenge distorted beliefs about body size and promote realistic self-perception. Our evaluation, patient's weight increased by 0.51 kg per week. Love values show improving nutritional status. Disturbed body image, patient expresses reduced anxieties when discussing body image and demonstrate use of coping statement during self-reflection. Treatment outcomes indicating readiness for discharge are patient maintains healthy weight range for 2 weeks and above and independently follows a balanced meal. Patients verbalize body image, acceptance, reduce anxiety, and willingness to seek help if relapse do arise. Incorporation of patient profile consideration, cultural development, and community. For our medication, when for anorexia nervosa, fluoxetine, Prozac, and SSRI is sometimes prescribed, especially if the patient also struggles with anxiety or obsessive thoughts about food and body image. When teaching about medication, we emphasize taking it at the same time daily, watching for side effects like sleep changes or nausea. Understanding the medication works best alongside therapy and nutrition support. Education also includes helping family recognize relapse signs and encourage them to participate in care planning. Poor recovery doesn't stop at discharge. Many patients benefit from community resources such as Canadian Mental Health Association in PEI, Overeaters Anonymous PEI, and Bridge the Gap, an online and community directory. We also have crisis intervention resources like Help PEI Mental Health and Addiction Line, and the Canada Suicide and Crisis Helpline. In summary, eating and feeding disorder are complex conditions that blend biology, psychology, and environment. But recovery is possible, especially when care is holistic, compassion, and collaborative. Our role is to listen without judgment, build trust, and empower patients to reconnect with their bodies and redefine their sense of self beyond numbers and mirrors. Thank you all for listening, and I hope this discussion helps you feel more confident caring for patients with eating or feeding disorder.